Oh, hey folks, how you doing? It's Monday. Happy Monday. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all having a fantastic start of a new work week. If Monday is your first work day of the week, and obviously there are many countries where that's not the case, right? So, um, yeah. Anyway, so what is interesting and happening on the Bitcoin market? Well, you might have noticed that Bitcoin did in fact close an all-time high weekly candle at the 89.9 area, something like that. Near 90. Which, if you look at the VRE level, was exactly at a very nice VRE target level. So that should come as no surprise. And if you notice the VRE targets and what are happening today with the new weekly and the new daily levels and the 4-hour levels and all that currently happening, it is moving along very nicely, right? So there should be no surprise whatsoever about any of that, to be perfectly honest. So what happens next? Well, now that we've completed that mean reversion, which I told you could happen anytime from a few weeks back until, whenever into the future, and it happened this past week, there's still a fair probability that it will continue to rise a little this week. If you look at the indicators, hey buddy, if you look at the various indicators on the weekly, volatility, variance, entropy, you'll see those things are telling you, yeah, there's still a good probability that this thing can keep rising. Where can it rise to? Well, there happens to be a third standard deviation band outlier on the 1110 RMLR right up around 105K. And if it rose up to there, well, then you would start looking for a mean reversion at 1110 once it stops hitting that band. It does not have to go to that band, of course. It could already mean revert from where it is, right back down to the 1110. Right? It could just go sideways for a while, right? Like technically. Now, do I think it's probabilistically going to just go sideways for a while? Not right now. No, I don't. But I think we're going to continue to see why. Because if you look at the intraday, right, what's happening on the intraday, it's not just piddling along, going to the side, right? There's a very high probability that we'll continue to see nice movements, especially in the run up to a traditional market open and shortly after the bell rings in that first hour to 3 hours after. Usually anywhere from the first 4 hours of the day, you tend to see a lot of the action. Usually it's even in the first couple hours of the day. And then somewhere in the afternoon before the end of day on traditional markets, you'll typically see, if it's a very busy day, you'll typically see more moves in the last hour or two before the end of the day. And sometimes they'll spill over into after market hours trading, especially in crypto, right? But yeah, there's no reason to just assume that all of a sudden the nice move we had the last couple of weeks is just suddenly going to stop for no reason. It is going to slow down at some point, right? And you will see mean reversions from the highs to slightly different targets, wherever those happen to be. Now, it can mean once it stops running up the returns, you could see mean reversions happen to the upside, right? Just like you could see them happen sideways or to the downside. It is entirely probable. We've certainly seen that in many cases. It would certainly not be anything new or surprising if we were to see mean reversions basically just happening by continuing to the upside at a lower slope than the rising mean, right? We see that all the time. That's not even unusual. Why? Well, because when the mean is rising towards where the asset is, it will eventually meet it if it just keeps rising, and the asset will, complete that mean reversion by just running into the mean, wherever it happens to run into it. So yeah, it's entirely possible that we'll see that happen. Do I expect it to just sit at an all-time high and not mean revert a bit to the downside? No, I don't. When you're at an all-time high and it begins to mean revert, there's a pretty good probability, pretty high in fact, that mean reversion will not just happen to the upside, even though it can. There'll be a tendency, right, based on how irrational human beings respond to what the actual market is doing, and the actual market is run by robots, like massively. The actual robots will be looking at the returns. They'll be calculating where the mean of returns are. They'll see that they're down a bit. They'll see, people are, they won't think, people are doing this or that. They'll know the math is, okay, when you're at an all-time high, right, and the returns have their mean well below the current all-time high, whether it's 5 grand below, 10 grand below, 20 grand below, whatever it'll be. Okay, so there's a lot of profit to be made with low risk by selling at the top, right, and taking profit, or shorting at the top, taking profit when the returns complete their mean reversion, right? That's what's likely to happen. And, likewise, when the asset also is at a low, right, it does the same thing. It looks for where is the area for a likely mean reversion to go to the upside. Well, we've seen that relative low in recent months. Right, during the summer, it was at like 49 or something, 49K. And obviously now it's, it hit 93 something last week, which is not quite, but nearly double that, right? If it got up to 98K or something, that would be double the 49. So is there a chance it can hit 100K this week? Technically, yes, it's in the probabilities. Look, last week, I even told you at the beginning of the week, I'm like, look, there's every probability that we could see it rise 10K to complete the mean reversion. It sure did, right? So there's every reason to think that it could go up, 10K from where it currently is, roughly, in this week. Now, does it have to go up? No, it doesn't have to go up. Could it slow down significantly and take a while to get there? Yeah. Could it be that it never gets there? In theory, it's possible. It's not likely, but it's possible. Could it be that the 93K was the all-time high for Bitcoin ever? Maybe, but I don't think so. For a whole lot of reasons. Right? People still want this thing. It is very scarce, and there's not a lot of it because it's mostly owned at this point by big whales. And that means that it's perceived to have value because it's held by people who don't even need it, right? By really wealthy people who don't need it. They don't need to sell it. They're just going to hold on to it forever, right? Whatever slivers or chunks they sell here and there, they're just going to sell them into a panicky market to get good profits from them. And then they're going to continue dumping onto the panicky market, who will be paying top dollar for an asset whose price is going to continue to fall until they panic so much that they themselves will be selling them back at a massive loss, at which point the smart money will come in and buy all of their Bitcoins back at a huge discount, once again, pocketing the difference, right? Taking the profits from the retail traders that gave them profits at the highs and that gave them profits at the lows. That's just how it goes. You don't have to like it. It's not like, what's that expression? When it comes to things. Facts don't care about your feelings, right? HFT bots also don't care about your feelings, and the smart money doesn't care about your feelings either, right? So, yeah, let's just bear that in mind, right? Especially when you're trading low time frames. There's other things I wanted to talk to you about, but right now, I just want you to appreciate clouds. Clouds, they're so pretty. Sheep clouds. White, pretty sheep clouds. Anyway, just an interesting background. Yeah, so the point is, what is Bitcoin likely to do next, right? What's it likely to do this week? Is it likely to hit 105K this week? Start hitting that STW band to the upside? It might. It could also just take several weeks to do something like that. And then, end the year, or, mid-December or something like that, or maybe sometime in January. Maybe sometime around then do that. It's certainly not beyond the realm of possibilities or probabilities. But if it does that, then yeah, we could have a nice year of asset prices going down. And you might see, okay, and then you'll be like, well, hang on. What's all this talk about? The analysts all say we're going to see the bull run go into June of next year. Okay. They have no idea what they're talking about. Okay. They're pulling numbers out of their butts, to put it politely. Why do I say that? Well, most of the analysts aren't using leading information. Or the reports they're giving you publicly are filled with misleading information because they base those reports on lagging information. Why would they do that? Why would they give the public a set of information that's misleading and misinforming if they actually know any better? Well, because that's their job. Their job is to help their actual clients or their bosses or their companies to make money. And they do that by making sure that retail pours money into the wrong side of the market. So they'll come out and say things that reporters will say, oh, this reporter says we're going to the moon, or or if it's a down market, this reporter says we're going to doom. And they'll cover it as if it's significant and factual. Well, the only thing that's significant about it is that it's misleading and deceiving. Right? It's misinformation. And you're better off ignoring it, to be honest, than you are to trying to make heads or tails of it. If you're trying to make heads or tails of it, remember, their job is to lie to you. Their job is to get your liquidity into the hands of their customers, which means they'll do whatever they have to convince you of whatever narrative they're telling. And that narrative does not have to be accurate. And remember, no matter what happens, they'll use a narrative to tell you, or to explain what happened, but they'll never actually give you real probabilities. Like, you can't look at their charts and see real probabilities like you can with the VRE charts of alpha trading. I don't know what's going on here. It's doing this funky thing again with the jittering video. Is that I don't know what's going on there. Well, if you guys can hear this, that's interesting. If you can't hear this, so be it. It seems that I'm walked by a certain spot. That some kind of interference happens. And then the video just kind of, that's it. I'm not sure if this is still streaming or not, but if it is, well, it's a very weird image. I wonder if you're seeing this very weird image. Okay, that's going to do it, folks. I'll talk with you guys later. Cheers. Happy trading.